All right, so now that you guys have watched the video Hair, Love, and determined what the theme was, I want to talk to you about theme development specifically. So we kind of take things a step further. We're not just going to look at, what is the theme, prove that this is the theme, but we want to look at how authors communicate that message throughout their stories. So that would be theme development. So again, we want to look at the plot of a story. When did the conflict first begin? So, what problems occurred at the beginning for our characters? And then we also want to look at character growth or even lack thereof. So, again, usually characters change from the beginning of a story to the end of a story, and something along, their growth as a person or as a character is what the author is trying to get at in their lesson to us. If the character doesn't grow, that too could also be a lesson. So again, we want to look at how did they change from the beginning of the story until the end of it, and then also how they reacted to conflict. So all of those things kind of wrapped up together are going to be kind of what helps us figure out what was the theme and then also how it was developed. So we're going to go back to Hair, Love, and I want to look at how the theme was developed in this short film. So again, we want to look at beginning, middle, and end of stories. Your responses should always touch on, kind of, again, the beginning of a problem, which will be at the beginning of the story. Then the rising action is how that character tried to deal with that problem. And then, of course, the end is the resolution. So ultimately, how were they able to deal with whatever it was that they were struggling with? Okay, so for Hair, Love, a way to start this, if I were to ask you, how did the filmmakers develop this theme? We want to start with the beginning. So, what was that initial conflict? So, the beginning of the theme is shown through the initial conflict. So, that first problem. The little girl needs to do her hair, but her mom isn't there to do it for her. So, emphasizing the start of, the rough road ahead, which was, part of that theme. So they're going to struggle. The middle deals with, of course, them trying to figure out how to manage her hair. So both the father and the little girl attempt to do her hair on their own, but they both fail. These repeated attempts continue to emphasize the rough road of, making up her hair. So that, again, is kind of showing us the development of this theme. We have initial problem, got to do this hair. Rising action, kind of trying to solve that problem. They each try to figure it out, but they cannot. So the ending, eventually, obviously, they figure out how to do her hair using a hair tutorial from her mom, and they're able to be successful. So while the road was indeed rough for them, with their hard work and, of course, the love that they have for each other, they were able to conquer this problem. So that is how the filmmakers were able to develop this. They basically gave us a plot line. They had a first problem, they had attempts to solve it, and then ultimately they were able to solve the problem. So when you guys are analyzing your novels and kind of looking at those theme development, you also want to take into account your character's initial problems. Discuss, give me some examples. What were they struggling with at the beginning of your book? Some of them, it was even in flashbacks prior to your book happening. But what was that initial problem? And then the majority of your book is them trying to kind of overcome those difficulties or solve that problem. So give some examples for that. And then, of course, this week you guys will be wrapping up your reading. So you will figure out whether or not they do solve these problems. And that, of course, is, you're going to have to come up with a lesson that the author is trying to teach us through these kind of character journeys.